Alright, what's going on, guys? Elden Ring nightreign has been getting a lot of attention recently. In light of its new update, lots of rumors going around, the weekly Everdark Sovereign rotations, and everything else that's been going on with the game as of late. But as we all know, Elden Ring nightreign is only one thing FromSoftware has going on right now. We've got the new update for Elden Ring coming out soon, introducing a lot of small content alongside its release on Nintendo Switch 2 with the Tarnished pack. The Duskbloods is set to release sometime next year as a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive, and that's shaping up to be a very fascinating game. There's also talk about the game even coming after that with the code name FMC, and with all the other multimedia projects they have going on, there's so much happening with FromSoftware. So today we need to take a little break from nightreign and talk about all the other news that's been flying under the radar lately, and there has been a lot of interesting stuff happening, so we gotta break this down. But as always, as we get started, if you want to stay up to date on all things Elden Ring and FromSoftware, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and now let's get into it. Let's start off today by talking about Elden Ring Tarnished Edition. We need to get up to speed on that because there have been quite a bit of updates that nobody's really been talking about. Now, I feel like every time we bring this up, people forget what it is. So really quickly, I'm going to recap on that. This is a new DLC coming to Elden Ring. And yes, I am going to keep using that term DLC, because DLC stands for downloadable content. And the Tarnished Edition is a small update for Elden Ring that is going to be extra downloadable content. It's going to come in the form of the Tarnished pack, which is a new add-on for Elden Ring. And that'll be bringing things like a few new armor sets, one of which is Lucatiel's from Dark Souls 2, a few new weapons, such as Lucatiel's sword, and new skins for Torrent. So not a new expansion like Shadow of the Erdtree, but it is new DLC. And this pack likely will cost some money, because it's being shown alongside things like Shadow of the Erdtree, and not being advertised as a new free update, but instead as this so-called Tarnished pack. Now, the Nintendo Switch 2 version will come with all these add-ons, but you'll likely have to buy this pack separately on other consoles. Now, the question everybody's wondering is, when are we going to get this? Because all we've known so far is that this is supposed to drop sometime this year, and since then it's been pretty much no official word on when that's happening. A lot of people thought we were going to get a direct in July and a release date, but alas, here we are in August, and we didn't have one. We did also cover recently that it was rated by the ESRB, and that indicates a pretty soon release date, and we have a lot more signs that that's likely the case, because Nintendo just announced their lineup for Gamescom, which is going to be taking place on the 20th through the 24th, and one of the games you'll be able to play there is the Tarnished Edition of Elden Ring, alongside other things like Metroid Prime 4 and Silksong. Now, this makes the second time people have been able to get hands-on with the Tarnished Edition, the first being the showcase at FromSoftware's own studio in Tokyo, back before the release of nightreign. So all this stuff is already done, ready to go. There's not a lot of marketing that really needs to happen for this. So that's just another sign that the release is probably very soon. But the real kicker here is that several digital game storefronts across the world have started putting up their own pre-order pages for the game, with a release date listed in September. And you can see the one here on screen was for a Finnish website. And I think that makes perfect sense. I mean, September has been my prediction all along. That gives us time to wrap up the Everdark Sovereigns and give nightreign a break before the DLC for that game launches later this year. So even though it's nothing crazy, this is some new content for Elden Ring. It's enough at least for me to warrant a new playthrough with this new content. Maybe see if we get any cool lore in there, and just revisit the game on the Switch or Switch 2. So how do y'all feel about a September date for that? Is it going to be enough to give you a reason to do another playthrough? And will you be buying the Tarnished pack at all? Now, interestingly, the next thing we're going to be talking about is Sekiro. Now, if you're a regular here on the channel, one thing you might remember us having covered a while back was this rumor/leak about a Sekiro anime in the works. Now, that leak originally came out about 2 years ago from a pretty credible leaker, but there was always a question overhead if this was even real, and we heard absolutely nothing for about another year after that, when the same leaker came out again saying yes, it was real, and gave us a bit of information about who was going to be doing it. And what we learned back then was that it would be made by a studio named Qzilla, who've only worked on very short projects before, but done some of the intros and outros for shows like Hell's Paradise and Chainsaw Man. So not much experience on full-length shows, but the quality of the short works weren't very good. But all of that was coming from unofficial sources. However, now we know that this anime is in fact happening, because the domain Sekiro Anime has now been registered by Kadokawa themselves, who are of course the parent company of FromSoftware. So now we don't have to wonder if it's going to happen or not. It is going to happen. Now we just have to wonder when, and what's it going to be like. Now, I said this before, but I do think if any FromSoftware IP is going to succeed in anime format, Sekiro is the perfect one. You get a very easy story to follow that still holds a lot of intrigue and lore, You got the perfect opportunity for lots of flashy action, and there's not a lot of room to mess this up. Now, I don't think we'll have to worry about anything crazy happening here, and I really don't expect this anime to go super deep on the game. I'm expecting more action than anything from this, or potentially some character exploration of Sekiro, kind of like a mini version of Vagabond or something like that. But as far as revelations after the secret ending, I don't think we're going to get anything like that. But who knows, what do you think we're going to get from this Sekiro anime? What do you want to see adapted? And do you think it's going to be good? Y'all let me know down below. Some other news I want to talk about today is that the new Kadokawa Report came out this week, and we always take the time to cover these here on the channel. And basically what we have here is the quarterly financial report for the parent company of FromSoftware that details how the business is doing, future outlooks, notable news, and stuff like that. I know it's not the most interesting thing in the world to everybody, but I like to look at these. I think it's important to understand the context around the business to really stay up to date and make educated predictions and stuff like that. So we're going to dive into this, starting with the overview of how the company performed. So you can see there down in the third point. In gaming, sales and operating profit increased stronger than expected, driven by the performance of Elden Ring nightreign, both domestically and globally. So Elden Ring nightreign did have some fantastic sales and actually exceeded expectations for them. And you can see there it says, sales increased due to significant contributions from both new and past titles from FromSoftware, even noting there in the bullet point that it sold 2 million copies on the first day, and exceeded 5 million in July. And noting down there in the bottom, they're aiming for further sales growth for Elden Ring nightreign, Elden Ring, and Elden Ring's DLC. Now something important they do note down there at the bottom, they again confirmed that nightreign's DLC is coming out this year. Now when it comes to Kadokawa, their fiscal year goes to March of next year, but the official listing said Q4 2025 on American storefronts, so personally I'm expecting it sometime this holiday season. Now I'm glad to see that here because it was a bit up in the air if that listing was correct or not, and if that was a mistake, but it's good to see some official confirmation like this. I mean, this is going out to investors, so they wouldn't put it in there if they weren't sure of it. Now another portion of this that I thought was pretty interesting and I wanted to take a look at was that somebody actually asked them about the partnership between Nintendo and FromSoftware on the Duskbloods and how that was going to be divided up. And one thing that they actually did answer was that in number 2 they say it will be sold on a joint basis with Nintendo company, with sales responsibilities divided by region. So does that mean that the IP is going to be retained by FromSoftware with potential for other console releases somewhere down the line? Now in number 3 they do say it will only be available for the Switch too, but I think that's kind of a non-answer. Obviously they couldn't say now if it's going to eventually come out on other platforms. Regardless though, man, I'm ready to hear more about that game. We got that trailer and there has been radio silence on all fronts. Not even rumors going around about anything related to that game. But I guess that's kind of par for the course for Nintendo. But I just wanted to take a look at that real quick. We always try to cover these, and I think it's important to stay up to date on literally everything we can. A lot of small stories today that didn't warrant a full video on their own, but we got a new Everdark Sovereign coming out this Wednesday. We'll be covering that, but I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to leave a like on it and subscribe if you're new around here, and I will catch you in the next one.